This is Boxing Tickets, and we are delighted to be joined. It's a birthday celebration today. We're delighted to be joined by Graham McCormack, who turns 21 today. Happy birthday, Graham.
21 plus VAT. Thank you, pal. Thank you very much.
I was just saying to you, I guess you're deep in camp now. You're 12 days out from obviously a fight. How do you feel on your 21st plus fat birthday?
Yeah, I feel good, man. I feel really good. I feel fresh. I feel youthful, man. I feel great. Like I said to you before we got on. You know what I mean? I just want to keep feeling as fresh and as youthful as I can. Eat clean, train hard, and live a long and healthy life. You know what I mean? That's my goal, really.
I guess obviously, years are being kind to you. It seems to be every time we're doing interviews. I'm not sure if you get a haircut at the right time, but you seem to be getting younger every time we're doing these interviews.
Yeah. I'm like a fine wine, man. I'm telling you, I'm aging like a fine wine. I'm getting better as the years go on, man. So yeah, look, like I said, man, I'm just enjoying it, man. You know what I mean? And so that's what I got to do with my life. Not be stressing about age or anything like that. Just as long as I'm feeling good and feeling fresh, then fucking I'm happy.
What's the rest of the day like then for you? Obviously, I guess you're 12 days out from a fight. You're sort of now having to look after the weight and things. There'll be no cake. There'll be no party. All be in celebration day after next weekend.
Yeah, no cake, no cake. I'll have some cake after next weekend, of course. I have two more training sessions later on. I trained this morning, two more training sessions later on. So a tough week this week. This is the last kind of hard week, you know what I mean? And then I'll taper off. My weight is really, really good. I got a boxing nutritionist on board for this camp. Now, I've worked with some great nutritionists in the past, but they've all been my friends, and I haven't been as strict with them as I should have been, maybe. You know what I mean? No one to blame but myself. And with this time, I hired a guy from England, Liam Williams. He's really helped me, really change it around for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm only, I think, 3 kilos off my weight with nearly 2 weeks to go. Like, I've never been that close to weight in my life. You know what I mean? I've often cut 10 kilos in a week, 6 kilos in a week, 5 kilos in a week. I think maybe this time I'll only have 1.5 kilos to cut, maybe 2 the week of the fight. So I've just changed it up this time. I felt like after my last performance, I really needed a change for myself. You know what I mean? And then the food has always been my biggest problem has been my weight. So with Liam Williams on board, it really has changed things around for me. But I felt great. His camp energy levels have been really good, and so yeah, look, training hard this week. Food is good, and then we'll just cut the last couple of pounds next week.
I guess sometimes when people see, like, obviously this fight is super middleweight, 168 pound. Obviously, it's not a weight class you're used to, but obviously even that obviously, not everybody stays close to their fighting weight. Obviously, you have to obviously live a normal life. Obviously, when you're not fighting, so like when people sort of hear that and go, making weight and things like that, like it's trying to peak at the right time. So sort of, I guess, you're not having a friend sort of involved there, and someone's going to say, right, Graham, wise up. Don't be doing this. You're going to listen to them more.
Exactly. Yeah. Look, like I said, I never blame anybody else. I'm my own worst enemy when it comes to food. It's not like I'm acting the body St. Peter, but it's just like overeating calories or else undereating calories and trying to out-train a bad diet. You know what I mean? That's what I've been doing for years, and like it just doesn't work, man. You know what I mean? You're burning the candle at both ends, because like no one can ever question my training. I train harder than most people, but there's no good training really hard if you're not eating the right food and putting the right calories into your body. And this time around with Liam Williams on board, I've done it to a T. And a big shout out to my wife as well, who has cooked everything for me. You know what I mean? So like I've really been on track. I've had no injuries this camp, touch wood. So like I felt really, really good. And obviously it's down to the food. And again, even the difference of drinking 4 liters of water a day, whereas before I definitely wasn't doing that. You know what I mean? I wasn't drinking enough water. And just those small little changes, man, this camp have really made a big difference for me,
Is it make it easier? I guess obviously every fight, obviously camp and everything else, and making weight. Obviously, does it make it easier for you? Obviously, I guess this fight at super middleweight, at the fact that you're not having to boil yourself down to middleweight any longer. That extra 8 pound, obviously, it's making quite a difference. That's well over half a stone.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a difference. But like, I won't be staying at super middleweight. I fully believe I'm going to win this fight in 2 weeks, and I will be coming back down to middleweight, because I'm not a super middleweight. You know what I mean? And either is Kieran Gettins, which is why we've both taken this fight. You know what I mean? We're not super middleweight. You know what I mean? So like, I will be coming back to middleweight after this fight. That's my goal. But yeah, this time around it has been a bit easier. I don't have as much weight to cut. I think probably from this Friday, which will be a week from when, I'll probably only have a couple of pounds, literally a couple of pounds to cut, which is brilliant for me because usually, man, I'm like a week to go. I'm 7. I've had 10 kilos to cut. I've cut 7 kilos, 6 kilos. The last fight where I fought a journeyman, I had to cut 5.5 kilos in a week. Like, it's just too much, especially with my age now, man. It's a lot harder to do than it was a couple of years ago, you know. So I got to be realistic too, and just look. This time has really helped me, man. I've really changed it around, and it's kind of made me train a lot better. My energy levels have been a lot better, and I've enjoyed camp a lot more because of it, you know.
Obviously, the last time we spoke, obviously you were obviously fighting in the warehouse in Dublin, and I know obviously afterwards it sort of you were obviously very annoyed with yourself, probably more in your performance than anything. And I'd sort of said to you, you know, take the positives from it. You know, it was your first fight in nearly a year. You know, obviously you were supposed to fight in September. Obviously, the Gething fight obviously fell through. So, like, the positive was you were back in the ring. It wasn't a defeat; it was a draw. It's sort of time made you heal, probably more to that. Obviously, just the fact that it just wasn't your night. Sort of, you didn't lose. You know, that was a good thing. Obviously, you didn't lose. Obviously you get in there. Probably it put you in better shape for obviously the Kieran Gething fight coming up. You know, rather than having not having a fight and knowing how the bodies can react. You've had a bad night sort of now and had a draw, so it's give you things to learn from getting into this fight.
Yeah, 100%, man. Look, again, like, you know me long enough now. I don't play the blame game. There's no one to blame for my performance on the night, only myself. You know what I mean? I didn't feel good mentally. You know what I mean? And when I don't feel good mentally, I'm not going to perform. You know what I mean? And hats off to Octavian Grady. He didn't come to lose. You know what I mean? He came to win. You know, like if you look back at my early career, like any journeyman that has come to fight me has come to win. You know what I mean? I've never had the guys who come with their hands up and just fall down. You know, I'd love to get those guys, but I've never gotten those guys. You know what I mean? And Grady came to win, and like I just wasn't there mentally, and I didn't enjoy the night. I didn't enjoy the fight and stuff like that. When I sat down in the corner around 2 shams, I mean, you're losing this fight. I was like, really? And he was like, yeah, you're losing. So I went out then, and I won rounds 3 and 4. And I woke up and I won rounds 3 and 4. You know what I mean? I done what I had to do to get the draw. Because, like, I was already 2 rounds down. You know, like, journeymen, like, no respect them, because without them, there is no boxing. And they are brilliant. Without journeymen, there is no boxing. But, like, at this stage of my career, I just can't get up for those fights. You know what I mean? And that's no disrespect to any journeyman, because I know that there's some guys out there that are absolutely unbelievable fighters, but you know, they're just taking that route. You know what I mean? I respect journeymen more than I do anybody else because of the job they've chosen. But for me personally, I need these 50-50 fights to get me in the gym, to get my head right, to get me buzzing, and to get me looking forward to the fight. You know, like I'm professional now 6 or 7 years, and I feel like I'm kind of past those fights. You know what I mean? I'm not thinking I'm bigger than those fights, because I'm not. But I feel like I've had a couple of title fights. I've fought on TV. You know what I mean? I've won a title. You know, I feel like, you know, I just couldn't get in the zone for that fight, man. I just could not get in the zone. You know, I cut too much weight for a 4-rounder. You know, like, I could make loads of excuses, but realistically, hitting an LA, I boxed absolutely terrible. It was a terrible performance, but I'm glad it went that way, because if it didn't go that way, I wouldn't have changed anything. I wouldn't have got my nutrition on point. I wouldn't have changed my training. This camp has probably been one of the best camps I've done in a very, very long time. Me and Sean have been on point. We've done everything to a T, sparring and pads. Shane Williams has been a big help this camp as well. You know what I mean? So, like, we've done everything to a T this camp. I've done everything I said I've done. Sparring has been brilliant. So yeah, I boxed terrible, and I can whinge that I'm on, but I'm glad it went that way, because I wouldn't have changed. If I'd went in there and went through the motions and beat Grady, you know, would I have changed anything? Would I still be cutting 6 kilos the week of a fight? You know, going into a big 10-round fight against a good fighter, you know, I probably would have. I wouldn't have changed anything. Whereas with this fight, I was able to go back to the drawing board and say, right, Graham, cop on yourself. Like, what the fuck was that? Like, that was a terrible performance, you know. And anyone that knows me knows that, you know what I mean? And I know that myself, you know. My son said it to me, like, he said, Dad, that was the worst performance I've ever seen out of you, I said. You know, and like, no one's going to be more honest with me than my son. No one knows me more than my young fella. You know what I mean? He's with me morning, noon, and night. Especially when it comes to boxing, he's a boxer. He loves boxing. Like, and he said to me, Dad, he said that was a worst performance. And like, you know what? When I look back at it, even my losses, that was still a worse performance than my losses to Octavian Grady. Even though it was a draw, I boxed terrible. You know, so it is what it is. Don't play the blame game. You know, take it on the chin, accept it for what it is, which is what I've done. I went away and I sat down with myself. I said to myself, I said, you either change things, or retire. I'm not ready to retire yet. You know what I mean? I feel good. I just changed things, and now I'm ready to go in there in 2 weeks or 12 days time and prove myself that I belong here. You know what I mean?
How obviously Dylan's obviously seen you obviously defeated, obviously he's seen you drawn. How do you sort of take that reaction? Because obviously, you know, Dylan looks to you as his role model, obviously, and everything else. Like, how do you take that when obviously your own son, you know, is saying that to you? Does it probably hit deeper for you? Sort of, you know, it's that probably honest conversation you need with your child when they're saying, "Dad, you weren't good." Does that motivate you even more?
You know what, bud? Realism is what I need in my life. I don't need yes men around me patting me on the back, telling me well done. And in fairness to Sean and Willem, Willem Mack, on our best friends, Craig Red, and all my team, my wife, but especially my boy, you know, and Shane Williams, like they all said it to me afterwards, like it was terrible. When my son is telling me, like, Dad, you were terrible, but what he did say is, he said, Dad, don't go on that performance. Don't go out on that performance. You know what I mean? So for me now, I feel like, okay, you know, I have to lift this up for me and him and everyone else that supports me. You know what I mean? I have great support, but like Dylan has been with me this whole way. Like I have 6 kids. I love them all the same, but Dylan and me have that boxing together. You know what I mean? And Dylan is better than I ever could have been. He's fucking shit hot. Like, you know what I mean? So he knows boxing, man. And like he said it to me the next day too, wasn't that? No, he said to me the next day. So it really was motivation for me, and especially, you know, don't go on that performance. And I said to myself, all right, you know, I can't go on that. You know what I mean? I'm going to go over here in 12 days time and I'm going to redeem myself, for my young fella. You know what I mean? And it has been a real motivation, this camp. I really, you know, what my young fella said to me afterwards was a real motivation. And what all my team had said to me, like I said, Steve, like, I'm not into the pussyfooting around and the feeling sorry for yourself. I want it straight. The boy said, Graham, that was fucking terrible, like, you know what I mean? It was fucking terrible, like. Let's call it space bed. There's no point being on it. Yeah, you can take the positives from it. And of course I take the positives from it. You know, it was a draw, it wasn't a loss, but it was a terrible performance. You know what I mean? And if I went away and said, oh yeah, it was grand, I got a draw. You know, what are you teaching yourself? And plus, what am I teaching my son? You know what I mean? Like, when you're boxing, it is about winning. You know what I mean? You want to win. You want to be number one. Like, and I want to teach that to my son. He is a boxer. He goes in there and spars every week, and he's very, very good. But I want him to be the best. And to be the best, he has to learn that sometimes with a defeat, you have to come back stronger. You know what I mean? If you fall down, you have to get back up. And I feel like that's what I'm teaching my son and all my kids as I go along on this boxing journey. You know?
Obviously, you're fighting next week. It's your first 10 rounder. It's probably fair to say, you know, a win over Kieran Gething next week will be the biggest point in your career. I guess your biggest title and everything else. Obviously, you had the Celtic title and stuff before. Like this, like at 37 years of age, you know, I know it's not a world title. You know, it's not like Anto Kakachi in over 4 weeks' time where it's life changing for him. But this will be a big deal for you.
Be huge, man. It'd be huge. You know what I mean? Like I said, I was told I'd never win a pro fight. Now I'm about to win a second title. You know what I mean? It's huge. It's absolutely massive. And like the British Boxing Board of Control Kelly title actually is a ranking title. You know what I mean? Like the BY Kelly title is brilliant and I loved winning it, but this actually gives me a ranking and will get me, you know, probably a big fight off the back of it. But I'm not focused on any other fights. I'm just focused on Kieran Gittins. But yeah, it's huge, man. It's a second title. You know what I mean? It's a second title for someone who didn't turn pro till he was 30, who spent all his 20s going in and out of jail, drinking and drugging. You know what I mean? Turn my life around. So yeah, it's fucking massive, man. It's massive. And that's how I'm treating this. That's how I'm treating this camp. That's how I'm treating this mentally, is how big this actually, there's actually some fighters go out there that are probably better boxers than me and didn't win a title. I'm about to win my second title. So yeah, I am going to win this title and I do deserve the credit for it, bud, because I've come back from everything, you know what I mean? Like, even in the boxing game, like, this boxing game has been tough this last couple of years, man, you know what I mean? I've had losses, you know, I've beat myself up more than anyone has beat me up. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah, it's massive, man. And I fully believe I'm going to win this title in 12 days' time.
Obviously, York Hall as well. Obviously, you've watched many cards there, many great battles. Obviously, there's been many brilliant fights there. Like, Carl Frampton's fought there, Keith Taylor's fought there, Mick Conlon's fought there. Like, you're joining a long list of obviously Irish fighters to fight at York Hall. And it's a crazy warm venue as well. And we know you love to obviously have a war and just stand in the middle of it and just go for it. Like, you're probably going to come out of there about 6 stone.
Listen, I can't wait to fight in York Hall. Because originally this fight was scheduled for Wales or Cardiff or whatever, and then it got cancelled. Kieran got an injury, and then there was talk of it at the start of the year in Cardiff again. I think it was actually sanctioned for Cardiff, but then when I heard it was York Hall, I was fucking delighted because I've always wanted to fight there. Now with the fight, like, I know for a fact it's going to be Kieran Getting is a good boxer. And anyone that thinks he's not is clueless. He's a good boxer. I'm not burying my head in the sand. And we've prepared for a good boxer. I've had absolutely brilliant sparring this camp, and I want to give a shout out to all my sparring partners. Like we are prepared for whatever. If he wants to box, I can box. You know what I mean? If he wants to fight, I can fight. I think this is going to be an absolutely unbelievable fight to watch. I think Kieran Getting's a good fighter, and I think it's going to come down to who's the bigger dog in this fight. And you know, I think it's going to be really entertaining 10 rounds. I think it's going to be back and forth. I'm really looking forward to it, man. I'm fucking excited. You know, these are the fights I get up for, man. These are the fights I need to get me in the gym and to get champing at the bit. You know what I mean? I'm really grateful to my manager Ian Cochran for getting me this fight. He's always he's done his best for me over these last couple of years. He's got me some massive fights. Always does his best for me. So massive thanks to him. You know what I mean? Because without him, I wouldn't be in the position today. So yeah, I am looking forward to this fight, man. It's in your call. It's for a title, and it's a 10-round war against another good fighter. So you know, this is what it's about, man. This is what boxing's about for me, bud. And when I retire, we've had this conversation before. When I do hang up the gloves, people will always say that Graham was always in great fights. You know what I mean? And that's what I want to be remembered for, man. You know what I mean? Am I going to be world champion? No, but I'm going to be remembered. I'll be remembered, and then you know that's passed on to my boy who's going to surpass me, of course. You know what I mean? But you know he's going to carry on the name then, and that's what it's about. You know.
Is it a case, like obviously I don't sort of sometimes in these conversations, but the case is it rolling the dice and one more, you know, obviously if it didn't go your way next week and you were beat, would that be it? Or is it dependent on the performance? I'd never like to get into that sort of negative sort of talking in a way, as you know well, Graham, but like, is that your motivation obviously for next week, that you know you have to win, or is there other things on it?
Yeah, look, that is definitely an extra motivation. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you the truth, Steve. I absolutely love and adore boxing, man. I love it. You know what I mean? I love boxing. I love training. I love being in the gym. Boxing has been a massive part of me being clean and sober. You know what I mean? Would I have stayed clean and sober at the start of this journey? I'm 8 years clean in May. Would I have stayed clean and sober at the start of the journey of boxing? I don't think so. I'll be honest. I don't think so. It would have been a lot harder for me. So I love boxing. I feel absolutely unbelievable in the gym, in camp. I feel great. You know, I'm 37 years of age today, and some people are like, oh, are you too old for boxing? You know, you're as old as how you feel. I fully believe I'm going to win in 12 days' time. What's going to happen after the fight? I don't know. Win, lose, or draw, I don't know what's going to happen after the fight. I really don't, Steve, so I can't answer that question. But what I do know is I feel brilliant. I feel fresh. I feel youthful. And the sparring this camp, not just saying it, has probably been the best sparring I've done in camps, in a couple of camps. You know what I mean? It's been the most disciplined and focused in sparring, especially, that I've done. So I felt really good, man. So I'm looking forward to the performance on Saturday week, you know. And if I perform how I believe I can perform, then who knows what's next? You know what I mean? Who knows? Boxing, you know boxing as much as anybody does. Boxing is a very strange game. You're 1 or 2 fights away from a massive fight. Boxing is booming here in Ireland now. You know what I mean? Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? All I know is I'm looking forward to next weekend. I'm looking forward to putting on the best performance of my career in the biggest fight of my career. Realistically, it is the biggest fight of my career. And who knows after that? You know what I mean? But for me right now, I'm not focused on anything after that. I'm just focused on this fight.
There's a different Graham McCormack this time. Obviously, I feel normally when we speak, we're giving off opponents. You seem to obviously, I don't know, have you changed sort of? Is this obviously a different dynamic in this fight? Like, there's no slating. Obviously, I know you've done obviously a live with Kieran Gething and things like that, and there was no slating. Like, is this you changing roles now? You're becoming, you know, like a good guy. You've stopped being the bad guy, sort of calling everybody names. You've got your fight. You've got everything you want. You're just going to be nice to Kieran.
You know what it is, Steve? I actually said this to Ian. I got too emotionally involved with the Craig McCarthy fight, and maybe it hindered a bit of my performance. I just got too emotionally involved. And like, I'll be straight up honest, right? I'm a recovering addict, alcoholic. I also have ADHD, and my mind can really go, you know, and that's the truth. Like, and maybe this can help anyone out there, you know what I mean? So for me, I need to keep my mind focused on the job ahead in 12 days' time. I can't get mixed up with anything else. We've dealt with a lot this camp. There's been a lot of stuff that's gone on outside of boxing with my family and with other stuff, like loads of stuff. I'm not going to touch on here, but loads of stuff that have went on, and I haven't allowed myself to get involved in it. You know what I mean? And sometimes that can be really selfish for the people that are going through things. But for me, this fight can be a career changer for me, man. So I've just been focused on nothing else but the fight. Kieran Gettins, I've nothing bad to say about him. He's a family man like myself. I think this fight is absolutely intriguing because I think he's in the same boat as I am. And I think that's what's going to make this fight so entertaining. But I'm not going to be getting emotionally involved in the fights. You know what I mean? No, I am still the bad boy. I love a slag and I love a mess. You know what I mean? And I love all that stuff. And I love that part of boxing. But I need to perform here next Saturday. I need to go in there as 100%. If I'm 100%, I'm a hard night's work for anybody. And anybody that knows me knows that. But I have to be 100%, man. And whatever about being 100% physically, I have to be 100% up here. Because if I'm not 100% up here, I'm not going to perform. You know what I mean? So for me right now, all I'm focused on is keeping my head right and focused on the fight in 12 days' time. Nothing else is I don't see anything else right now. It's just keeping this right up here and everything else will fall into place for me, you know? And if I get too emotionally involved with Kieran and stuff like that, that will take me away from what I need to focus on, really, you know?
It's great to see that sort of change and obviously mentality. Obviously, you know, like even you as an old dog sort of in the sport, and you're still relatively young in the sport, 'cause it's only 7 years. You see that change in mentality to you. Obviously, that's probably the difference, obviously, in your camp, and that's why your weight's obviously easier to maintain because you're not stressed out about other things other than my mind's just fully focused on fighting.
Exactly, bud. And like that's been a part of my downfall too, is not focusing on the things that I really need to focus on. And like I said, like my attention can be taken away from the important things because of you know the things that go on in my head, and then the things I need to focus on, I'm not focusing on. Do you know what I'm saying? And that's a massive downfall for me. You know, I'd love to be able to control that, but I can't control that yet. You know what I mean? I work on it a lot. I do a lot of meditating and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Stuff to get that on track. But sometimes it just completely bursts out of control, and my ADHD kicks in, and my head fucking goes 90. So for this camp, I've just focused on keeping that under control as much as I possibly can, and not getting involved in anything that I do not need to get involved in. Like I've been very, very focused this camp. I'm focused on training. Sparring has been unbelievable because I focused on it. I know that I need to perform in my sparring so that I can perform on fight night, you know? And like I said, it's all down to myself. Like I don't blame anybody else. Like my losses, the draw, there's nobody else to blame but myself. And I'm never going to be one of those guys. Anything that goes wrong in my life outside of boxing, it's down to me. You know, we are a product of how we act, and how we act reiterates what happens in our lives. You know what I mean? So like when I act, when I'm focused, like nothing goes wrong. You know what I mean? But if I act the bollocks, but you know, God sees that and that stuff comes on and bites me in the ass, and things can go wrong for me. Things go wrong for my family. And I have a family to look after, man, and I need to focus on that too, you know?
Definitely.
And that's what this camp has been me. It's just 100% focus, and I'm fully focused. I'm really looking forward to next week, but you know, I've never been more excited about a fight. It's going to be a really good night.
Definitely, you've obviously got us very excited, obviously, for next Saturday as well. Look, obviously, thanks very much for your time today. Thanks for obviously letting me share a part of your birthday. Obviously, you're not able to have any cake. You're not able to have any cake and eat it today, but obviously enjoy, you know, this last week of obviously camp. And obviously we'll look forward to fight night next Saturday night.
Thank you very much, Steve, and I appreciate you having me on as always, bud. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Graham. Take care.
Bud.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.